We have a wonderful organization here in Cuenca that I'm a part of, and several of our members here are a part of. It's called the Cuenca International Choral Association. And we now have two wonderful choral groups that will be performing on July the 31st. And we hope all of you will plan to be there. It's our winter concert. And it's going to be a wonderful concert because it's kind of a modern and contemporary concert. And we're trying to find places to have the concert right now. And we normally go to cathedrals. But I think sometimes our program here on this instance is a little bit too contemporary for the cathedrals. One of our songs is a song by John Lennon. It's called Imagine. And it has the beginning line, imagine there is no religion. Wow. Cathedrals are not real big on that. So we're continuing to look. But why would John Lennon write such a thing? Imagine there's no religion. Why would he do that? Well, you see, religion is one of those things that humanity has always created to find a way to feel good about itself, to feel as if it was being blessed by God, to feel as if it was becoming righteous and wonderful in this world. Religion was created for that purpose, to turn humanity into something worthwhile. And so religion has always been looked highly upon as one of the great forces of our world, to change people into what they are supposed to be. And John Lennon saw through that bogus argument. Imagine there should be no religion, because religion is what has caused more problems in this world than anything else I can think of. Jesus came into that problem, didn't he? Here in the Gospel of Mark, we read it earlier this morning, the 2nd chapter of Mark. And today I'd like to focus upon verses 27 and 28, where Jesus responds to all the criticism he got. On the Sabbath day, which is a religious holiday for the Jewish people, not supposed to do any work on that day, supposed to sit around, read the Bible, praise God. And what did Jesus do? Well, he let his disciples eat and pick corn on that day, and everybody was real upset about it. And he reminded them how David went to the consecrated table and took some of the bread and gave it to the hungry persons in his day. And then he went into the temple, and there was a man with this shriveled hand, and everybody was watching him to see if he would heal on the Sabbath, which was forbidden. The religion says you don't heal on the Sabbath, you don't do anything on the Sabbath, because that's going to make you a good person not to do that. But you know what Jesus did is he healed this man. Oh, it upset everybody in that religion. Oh, they were really, really upset. And they couldn't believe this man would go around and feeding his disciples on the Sabbath and healing people on the Sabbath. And they were really angry with him. And the scriptures even say that they got together to figure out how to kill him. That's pretty angry, don't you think? But what was Jesus' response? And that's what I want us to focus on today, is the response of Jesus in verse 27 and 28. He said, listen, the Sabbath was made for man, but man was not made for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is the Lord, even of the Sabbath. Wow, what amazing, amazing words those are. Because you can substitute for Sabbath, you can just basically substitute the word religion. Religion was created for man, but man was not created for religion. Therefore, the Lord is the Lord, even of our attempts to be religious. You see, that's what Jesus was kind of saying. He was kind of saying, religion isn't really that powerful. Religion isn't really that great. Religion isn't really that wonderful. The Son of Man is that wonderful. The Son of Man should be the Lord of any of your attempts to ever be a good and righteous person. But religion? No, not at all. It shouldn't be that way. After I had graduated from my seminary in the mid-70s, I can't remember the year, I'm so sorry about that, but it's somewhere in the mid-70s. My seminary decided that they wanted to hold a conference in Austin, Texas. First time it had ever been done. It was an ecumenical council of world religions. It was the first time, especially in Texas, anything like that had probably ever been done. And the seminary wanted to call together leaders from all of the different world religions to come to Austin, Texas and spend about 4 days getting to know each other, understand each other's religious points of view, and try to move more toward world harmony. What a great idea it was. Now, I was already serving a church at that time, but they sent out a letter to all the alumni. We need help putting on this conference. Will you volunteer? Will you please come and help us? And of course, I was most anxious to volunteer. As I've told you before, this was a seminary that gave me a full scholarship for 3 years. I've always wanted to do something for them any way I could. So I said, I'll come. I'll do whatever I can. And I went there, and they gave me the job of being in charge of hotel logistics. I thought, well, that's not too bad, especially because they separated it from food logistics. I thought to myself, what a nightmare that is. Because you know, the Muslims only eat this thing, and the Jews do not eat that thing. And then, of course, we had Catholics who do not eat certain things on Friday. And we had all of this different religious views of the dietary rules and regulations by which these people lived. I was so happy that they did not put me in that position. All I had to do was get people into their rooms, get them happy, and so on and so on. And they gave me 2 assistants, 2 young seminary students to work with me. It was great. And we sit down, we learn how to say, hello in Hebrew and hello in Arabic, and we did all that stuff so we could make them feel welcome and feel comfortable, and that we understood a little bit about their religious heritage. And people began to show up. I think it was on Wednesday afternoon, evening, and we welcomed them in, and we had it all set up so that it would go fairly smoothly. And the reason we were so confident was because we had thought through all the problems we could face. First of all, we had a big group of Pentecostal people also, by the way. And they had requested a special open space where they could have prayer services at night. So the first floor was perfect for them because all the rooms opened up onto this big open space, and they could have all the praise they wanted to have right there. Good. Then we had the Orthodox Jews. And we put them on the second floor because they asked for a special conference room where they could study the Torah at night and decide on the different meanings of the different words of God and so forth and so on. And it had a wonderful conference room, so we put the Jewish Orthodox people on the second floor. And then we had the Muslims, the Islamic people, and they were very, very nice. And they needed a room where all the windows faced east, you see, because they like to pray to Mecca, you see, and Mecca is in the east. So we could not put them in any rooms that faced west or north or south. So the third floor on that section we had taken over all had east windows. Yay! So we put them on there. So we had Pentecostals on the first, we had the Orthodox Jews on the second, we had the Muslims on the third, and then the fourth, fifth, and sixth, we put all the Protestants, all the Presbyterians, Baptists, Methodists, because they didn't care one way or the other. And then we put the Catholics up on the 7th floor, because they wanted the best view. So it was set up. It was beautiful. People came in, we had the room numbers, we had it all set up, it was all great. And eventually, by the end of the day, everybody had their room, they all seemed happy. It looked like the conference was going to be a great success. And I decided I deserved to sit down in the lobby and have a nice cold drink. So I was sitting there enjoying my cold drink and almost finished. And my 2 young assistants all showed up just running in, all agitated and upset. And I said, "What's wrong? What is it? What could be the problem?" And so and they use this expression we use in Houston. Houston, we got a problem. I said, "What kind of problem could you have? Everybody's in their rooms. Everybody's got what they need. What could you have?" Well, it seems as though the Orthodox Jews had gone into the conference room that I had set up for them and studied the Torah. Well, that's okay. It's good. We're glad you're doing that. But it had been revealed to them in their study of the Torah that they were on the 2nd floor, and that could not work. I said, "What's wrong with a 2nd floor? We got a conference room and everything else." Well, you see, the problem was this. on Saturday, which was the day of the big gathering at our conference, which is the Sabbath, the rule says you can't do any work and you can't cause any machinery to operate. And they got to thinking about pushing that elevator door button, that button. And if they pushed that button, they would be breaking the Sabbath, you see. I said, you got to be kidding. It's only one floor down, you know. We have to take the elevator. But they were kind of incensed about that. What, are we less than other religions? We can't just, you know. And so they said, we have a plan. And I said, okay, what is your plan? And they said, well, listen, you can ask the Pentecostals who have east-facing windows to move up to the third floor, and then we can move down to the first floor, and then you can ask the Muslims to move down to the second floor. I said, yeah, but the problem with that is the second floor doesn't have any east-facing windows. We can't do that. The Muslims are not going to go for that, you see. Well, then, how about, let's ask the Pentecostals if they will move up to the third floor, and then let us have the first floor, and then we can use the big chairs down there on the first floor, and then that way we can be on the first floor. So I had to remind them of the fact that that didn't work either. And we had this real problem. The Muslims didn't want to move from where they were. They loved their east-facing windows. The Pentecostals did not want to move to the third floor because that meant they had to come to the third floor, down to the first floor to do their praise services. And then when the Orthodox Jews found out about it, they didn't want to have the Pentecostals doing their praise service all night long outside their doors. I thought to myself, my goodness, I thought this was a conference on religion. Yeah. Together, No. So I want to pause a moment here and say that at that point in the story, we have a beautiful example of why Jesus said what he said and what it means. Religion was made for man. The Sabbath was made for man. The idea is religion is supposed to make people better. It's supposed to make them more loving and more kind and more generous. And it's supposed to change them. It's supposed to make them into what God would want them to be. That's the purpose of religion. And that's why it was made for man, because man has no idea what God wants them to be. And man needs some kind of religious system to believe in so that they can be changed into what they should be. You see, this was what people believed in Jesus' time. This is what people believe in our time. That religion is made for man to make man better. But Jesus says that may be true, but man was not made for the Sabbath. Man was not made for religion. There's something about the way we are made that religion doesn't work for us. Rules, regulations, rituals, all those kinds of things don't change us one bit. Matter of fact, they end up making us into divisive people. They end up dividing the human race into all of these different religious beliefs and religious understandings. What religion does is it ruins mankind because mankind was not made for religion. It doesn't work for us. Never has and never will. But yet we continue to try to do these religious things, to think that we're going to be saved by these religious things we do, and we're not going to be saved by them. That's what Jesus' first point was concerned. Religion only brings disunity, divisiveness, and a real mess at a hotel in Austin, Texas. I can tell you that for a fact. Now, this story does have a happy ending, and I'm so glad I can tell it to you. So I'll continue on with the story. It was a bleak day that day. It really was, because after a little while of discussing and people getting a little bit more hot-tempered and things beginning to fall to piece, the Orthodox Jew group says, well, we're just going to leave. I said, no, that's going to hurt the conference. And then the Muslim group says, well, we know what's going to happen. We're going to get blamed for it. We always get blamed for it. So if we're blamed for it, we're going to leave. I said, I got the Muslims leaving. I got the Jews leaving. What a mess do I have? There's got to be some way to solve this problem. Now, at that time, I had begun to understand the difference between religion and the way of Jesus. And the way of Jesus was the way of God's love. The great way of God's love. God's love can solve any of the problems humanity has if we'll just open our hearts to God's love. And I believe that. I believe that if we could just let love be the Lord of our lives, then we could find redemption. I believe that. I preached that. I was a preacher of the gospel. And I did preach that. I did believe that. And I still do believe that. That love is the ultimate solution. And so I said to myself, how can love solve this problem? I can go to all the groups and say, now guys, we need to love each other. That's not going to help. Not going to help at all. Not going to do anything. And so we were standing in the lobby, me and my assistants, and we were just thinking about what can we do. Okay, we've got these people on that floor, that people on that floor. Maybe we can move them up to this floor. And it's just a complex puzzle. I'm amazed I can still remember the floors even to this day. And then as I was talking to them, one of the Pentecostal women walked by to the elevator. Long skirt, and knew she was Pentecostal. She went on into the elevator. And I was asking God, help me, Lord, help me understand how can love solve this. And I saw her go into the elevator, and just like a light, it went off in my head. I told my assistants, we got to go talk to the Pentecostals right now. We got to go talk to them right this minute. So we went up to their leadership. We asked them to join together. They had already turned me down. They'd already said, we really want to be loving and we really want to be kind, but we don't want to give up our space. No, we don't do that. And they thought I was coming back for a second go. But no. I said, listen, I have a new idea. I said, all I need is 4 of your women. They were taken back by that. What are you going to do with 4 of our women? How are you going to solve this problem? What can 4 women do, they said. I said, they can bring the kingdom of God. I said, how are they going to do that? The idea had come to me, and I broke it to them, and I said, listen, if you can get me 4 women volunteers, I need them to be button pushers. They went, and it just dawned on a light like that in them. And it was a great idea. I said to them, listen, it's great, because what can happen is we can put 2 women on the second floor, 2 women on the first floor. And any Orthodox Jew that shows up, needing to go down or up, they can join him and push the button. Because they don't care. It's great. And they were really excited about it. And then we started to get the women to volunteer about that. And there we hit another problem. Another problem. It seems as though Saturday had been set aside because the women didn't go to the conference. Only the men went to the conference in the Pentecostal situation. And so the women had all planned to go shopping on Saturday. This means they would have to give up their shopping trip, or at least 4 of them would have to do that. And it was like, ooh, that's really hard, because we don't come to Austin that often. It's great. And I'm really proud of the Pentecostals. I must say to you, I have had a great respect for them ever since that day, especially. Those women got together in a circle, and they asked me to join them, and they said, we're going to pray upon it. And I said, well, do pray hard. And they began to pray, and all the things they do. And then eventually one of them started saying, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. And another one said, praise Jesus. And pretty soon several of them were saying, praise Jesus. And I thought, well, that's great, praise Jesus, but what are we going to do about my problem? And they kind of quit. And one of them turned to me and said, if Jesus can die for us, we can give up one day of shopping. I said to myself, love has won. Love has shown the victory. And it worked out beautifully. And the Orthodox Jews were so amazed. They were like, where did such an ideal come from? And I said, it came from the Lord of love. And they said, it's such a good idea, And so we worked it out that way. And the conference went on. And everything was beautiful. It was absolutely great. And the Protestants and the Catholics never knew anything about it. But the point was simply this, that love is what made it work. And it was somebody willing, and I'm telling you this as clear as I can, it was somebody willing to sacrifice themselves for the good of others. 4 Pentecostal women decided that was something Jesus would have them do. And they did it. And it just rippled throughout the whole conference. And there was all kinds of little talk about it all over the conference. That the world really needs this self-sacrificing love. Image of a cross is not a bad image, is it? self-sacrificing love. And in that conference, they begin to look in each religion. How can we find more self-sacrificing love in our faith? It was an amazing thing, and I hope that many of those who attended those conferences have now gone out into their places, and hopefully they understand how on that day, self-sacrificing love saved that conference from division and splintering and all kinds of other things. Because somebody was willing to stand up and said, "My Lord is love." You see, who is the Son of Man? The Son of Man is Jesus. And who is Jesus? Jesus is the incarnation of God's love, you see. So to say that Jesus is the Son of Man and He's the Lord of the Sabbath is to say that love incarnated in us is the ruler of all our attempts to ever be good people in this world. No matter how hard you try to follow this ritual, that ritual, no matter how hard you try to follow this cultural religion of our day, and I'm going to pause a moment to talk about that, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I know what you're talking about, Pastor. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual." Yeah, really. Today we have a new religion in this world. And it's not one of the great five religions. It's a new religion called culturally correct religion. People have abandoned the churches, they have abandoned their religions, and they have decided that now, because they are good and righteous people, they can tell the rest of the world how they're supposed to live. That's a religion, my friends. And when they go around telling people what's wrong with them, they only reflect upon what's wrong with themselves. You hear it all over the news nowadays. All these organizations are saying, "Now listen, folks, don't be racist." Yeah. Don't be a misogynist. Oh, yeah. Don't be a bigot, you see. It's just like they took the 10 Commandments and changed them into the cultural commandments, you see. It's all commandments. All commandments. And if you start saying to yourself, "I'm not going to be racist. I'm not going to be a bigot. I'm not going to do this," you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to end up doing it anyway. You just don't realize it. I've seen it in the United States today, one instance after another. And I'm only going to take one example. There's a large group that says, "Oh, we should not be racist." And that very same group turns around and will not associate with people who believe differently than them. Huh? Is that not racism? It's the same thing. You know? I could go through one example after another. But the fact is, religion doesn't work, whether it's a culturally mandated religion or a world-mandated religion. It doesn't work. Humanity is not made for religion. I don't care whether it's a culturally correct religion or some other kind of religion. We're not made for that, because every time we decide to try to do something that's right, we end up doing something that's wrong. I love St. Augustine. He's one of the great writers of the Christian faith. And one of his big deals was we all must be humble. And he would tell everybody, "You got to be humble. You got to be humble. Everybody needs to be humble. Surrender yourself to God. Be humble, be humble, be humble." And then he finally had a revelation one day. And he said, "I am now as humble as I could ever be. And I am proud of my humility." Religion does not work. Ever. Never has, never will. But love, let me tell you, the love of God is the greatest thing this world has ever received, and it will work. Yes, yes. But how? How does it work? It's a good question. How does love work? How does the love of God work? Well, I'm reminded of a little game I created one time when I was running a youth camp on the beach down near Padre Island in Texas. And we were having this youth camp, and I wanted to do some things that would teach the young people something about what love was all about, and what the love of God was all about. So I created a game which I called Eternal Volleyball. We put that on the schedule, that it was time to play Eternal Volleyball. Now, the young people figured out that meant that they could play volleyball on the beach all day long. No, that wasn't the point. The point of the game was this. It was different than any volleyball game they'd ever played. I told them, I said, "We're going to play a game called Eternal Volleyball. And it's different. It's got all kinds of different rules, so listen up here." I said, "We're not going to have two teams, one on this side of the net and one on that side of the net. We're all going to be one team. But half of us are going to be on one side, and the other half are going to be on the other side. But remember, we're still all on the same team. Remember that, okay? We're still all on the same team. And I will be the one who serves the ball. Now, we are known as the team of the light. And the net and this ball is known as the team of darkness. Yeah. And here's how the game works. We're going to serve the ball to one side. Then they're going to hit it back to the other side. But here's the big difference. We're not trying to gain points by getting the other side to miss. We're trying to send it to the other side in such a way that they can send it back to us so that we can send it back to them. So they can send it back to us so that we can send it back to them. It's an eternal volleyball game. On and on and on. So we have to be careful to always send it back gently, to always send it back to someone who can really get it. We always need to focus on our togetherness. I told them, I said, we got to do that, you know. And I said, now, if the ball drops to the ground, then we have dropped the ball. And darkness gets a point. But if we keep it going all the way up to 21 volleys without letting it hit the ground, light gets a point. And so they were excited to play. It wasn't like they'd ever played it before. And so they began to play. Well, it's difficult. If you've ever tried to do this, it is very hard to do that. And the first two games, darkness won. It's hard to keep that volley going for 21 times. Somebody hits it too hard. Somebody misses it and lands on the deal. It's all kinds of things that can happen, or they send it in the wrong direction. But soon the young people begin to understand a very important principle. And they begin to holler and cry out to each other, send it to me. And then another one say, send it over here. And they begin to balance it back and forth. Receive, give, receive, give. And they focused on it. And whoever had it looked for the person who needed it the most, the person that could receive it the best. And they began to balance their volley back and forth. It was no longer a matter of showing off how hard they could hit it. That just destroyed everything. It wasn't about showing off. It was about showing how they could work together as a team to keep things going. And the third game, I'm happy to say, Light won 10-8. They were so happy about that. But that's how love works. That's how the love of God works. You see, God sends us the love. And then we must give that love to someone who needs it. And then that someone sends the love back. God's love works like this. Receive, give, receive, give. It's not just about receiving. You see, that's the problem with all these religions in the world. They're all about receiving a blessing from God and not about giving a blessing of God. You see, it's all receive, receive, receive. Absolutely. And so God's love, true God's love, is about receiving and giving, receiving and giving, receiving and giving. And that's what the eternal volleyball game was about. And that's the point I want to make to us today. That here at ICC especially, we want to understand that that's the love we make the Lord of our life. It's a love not just to receive, but it's a love to give. Hallelujah. So there it is. Jesus said it so plainly. Religion was made for man, but man was not made for religion. Man was made to follow the Son of Man, who is love. That's how we're made. We are made to receive and give love. That's our nature. That's our true nature. We are made to receive and give love as long as eternity will last. That's who we truly are. And if we want to understand it, that's who we'll be. The greatest thing about love today, I want to say, is that it is about receiving and giving. Our world has got too much taking and not enough giving. And that's where the real power lies. Now, in conclusion, I want to point to our Lord's table today. Because we have come here today to celebrate this wonderful, wonderful ritual, yes. But if it's only a ritual, then it will do us no good. It must be something your heart feels. It must be something your heart understands. And it must be something that affects your life, not today, but all days, okay? All 7 days of the week, all 365 days of the year. what you do here today should transform and change you into a true Christian who understands what the love of God is all about. You see, here today, we have the bread and we have the juice. And what does that symbolize? Love given. The love of Jesus given to us. The love of Jesus, His body, His blood, all His life, everything given to us for our sakes, all of it given to us to receive and to be blessed by it. You see, but there's another part to this table. When you come up and you take the bread and you dip it into the juice and you bring it into your body, then it's just like the eternal volleyball game. You got to go out there and find somebody to give that love, or we drop the ball. You see, love doesn't work. It's stagnant. If it's not going receive, give, it's stagnant and it will do the world no good. But when you take this bread and you take this juice, you're taking on a responsibility to go out into this world and find somebody who needs that love. Some way, somehow. We don't care here at ICC what it is you do for love, but we do care that you do something for love. That's what we care about. Is that every one of us here in this community understands if you've received the love of God, you've got to give the love of God. That's who we are. And that's what it means to be a Christian. I've received it and they will know me by my love. That's how it works. And that's what we're doing here today. We're celebrating the gift of God's love and the opportunity to give it. Because when we do that, the love is here again the next time we celebrate. You see, comes back, goes in. And that's who we are. And that's why Jesus said so clearly, religion was made for man, but man wasn't made for religion. The Son of God, the love of God, that is what man was made for. And that's the Lord of your attempt to ever be anything other than a weak and vulnerable human being. Amen. Amen.